Hi everyone! So I have been on Patreon for the last 4 months, and I thought today I would share with you guys some super cool and interesting painting tutorial highlights that I've shared with my lovely Patreon family. And a trick with hands is to not work on them too much. Oftentimes when you do your underpainting, it's actually already a pretty good representation of what the end result will look like. My theory is that when you do your underpainting, you're very confident and relaxed because it's underpainting. It's not the final product. There's not a lot of pressure or stress to make it perfect. And because you have that relaxed mindset going into it, it oftentimes appears to be a success. So if your underpainting looks good, don't feel the need to tweak it or work on it too much just because it's an underpainting. A great thing about working with this medium that I like, it's called safflower gel. It's produced by Gamblin and it's fast drying, is that it's fast drying. I let this painting sit overnight and by the next morning it was dry enough that I could start a second layer without worrying about mixing the colors underneath. So with faces especially, I recommend using many layers. There is a type of painting called alla prima where you do everything in one sitting, so it's one layer. But for my paintings, especially for gallery shows, I like to have a luminous glow, and that's achieved by glazing many layers. And as a lot of you might already know, glazing is simply mixing a little bit of paint with a lot of medium and creating like a translucent layer. So by building upon those translucent layers, the way the light reflects is a lot deeper and more luminous than if you just had one layer of one color. So even though I already laid down, pinks and reds and purples for my face, I'm going back a second time with the same colors but slight variations of those colors. For example, instead of using permanent rose, I'm using a more saturated pink called Luminous Opera, and those two pinks together will create a very unique rosy glow. I painted it with a wash of Radiant Magenta and Titanium White, and it made, instantly I liked it way more. So seriously, do not be afraid to redo things. A lot of times, the image you use for reference or the image in your head won't translate the way you think it will onto the canvas, and that's fine. So I was so much happier after getting rid of the red hair, even though I had planned on having bright red hair from the time I did a concept sketch all the way up until the last minute. And it's totally fine. Sometimes your whimsical gut feeling will guide you to wondrous places with your painting. When I first started doing the outlines here, I'm just pulling colors from the background and from the shadows that I've already used on the face and the sky. So purples, Prussian blues, a little bit of Tauric gray to make sure it's not too saturated. And when I started doing these outlines and just kind of freehanding some interesting shapes, I realized I really like using the same color as the hair in my foliage, and that way they look like they're almost carved into the hair. I can't really explain it, but originally I was totally going to make a few mushrooms like a completely different color, like maybe pink or red or blue, and then I decided to leave them pale and decided to only add very faint outlines and highlights and keep with the same general color palette of the head. The thing with the brilliant shade of pink is it was from a water-soluble oil paint, and water-soluble oil paints are basically thinned with water instead of paint thinner. And in my experience, they've interacted really well with regular oil paints, but a lot of people try to avoid mixing regular and water-soluble oil paints together. So if you don't want to mix them together, in fear of what they might do, a good alternative for that brilliant shade of pink is to take quinacridone magenta and put a little bit of white in it, and it makes a very saturated pink hue. In addition to 30-minute long painting tutorials, I also share my detailed progress photos as well as color mixing guidelines for each painting. Also, Patreon is the place where I share many exclusive candid art posts that show my behind-the-scenes process. I love having an intimate community where I can have a dialogue with other artists, ask for opinions on future projects, and answer every question or suggestion. Because of the support of my wonderful Patreon family, I am able to post several YouTube videos a month and create meaningful work that pushes me to become a better artist and just truly share in the love I have for painting. So I just wanted to say a heartfelt thank you to my lovely Patreon family who've supported me the last 4 months and helped me grow. And for the rest of you, I would like to extend a warm invitation for you to join me at patreon.com/happydartist. Thank you. Bye.